What's up, everyone? It's GG Sober Sun. March 28th. AA thought for the day. When you come into an AA meeting, you're not just coming into a meeting, you're coming into a new life. I'm always impressed by the change I see in people after they've been in AA for a while. Sometimes take an inventory of myself to see whether I have changed, and if so, in what way. Before I met AA, I was very selfish. I wanted my own way in everything. I don't believe I ever grew up. When things went wrong, I sulked like a spoiled child and often went out and got drunk. Am I still all get and no give? Oh man, there's a couple of things that came to mind there. Yeah, the big book says oftentimes other people see the change in us before we see the change in ourselves. And yeah, I think I definitely was pretty selfish before I came into AA. And that old saying that whenever we, as alcoholics and addicts, took our first drink or drug, our emotional and social growth stopped. Basically, I think it's because growth takes effort, and oftentimes it's painful, and if the minute we stop, we realize, hey, here's a way to escape, pain for a little while. We just don't feel like it's necessary to continue to grow. I don't know if that's true or not. It's just a thought, but it's pretty compelling. Meditation for the day. There are two things that we must have if we are going to change our way of life. One is faith, the confidence in things unseen, the fundamental goodness and purpose in the universe. The other is obedience. That is, living according to our faith, living each day as we believe that God wants us to live, with gratitude, humility, honesty, purity, unselfishness, and love. Faith and obedience, these two will give us all the strength we need to overcome sin and temptation and live a new and more abundant life. Yeah, and sometimes that word sin sort of is jarring to the ear, especially to those of us, myself included, of course, who have developed over time a resentment toward religious language. And I'm really surprised I wasn't more resistant to this book in early recovery because of my resentments and prejudices toward religion, because of my past experiences, religious experience with dogmatic preachers and things like that, turn or burn kind of mentality. Change your ways or go to hell, that kind of stuff. And the word sin is inherently religious, I guess. But really, all it means is, and I've heard Dr. Jordan Peterson point this out, that the word means basically you miss the mark. Like you're aiming for something, one, and you miss the mark. The perfect mark is to hit the mark, God's will for us, for our lives, because the concept is if we are living in God's will, the world would be harmonious. All of us would be in harmony with one another, but we know that we're going to miss the mark. We know that just because of walking around here on planet Earth in these Earth suits, that we're gonna miss the mark in terms of meeting our personal needs. We're gonna overreach. We're gonna overstep. We're gonna hoard food and money and stuff like that out of fear, and I think that's usually what drags us out of God's will, is fear. Fear that we're not enough, fear that we're not going to get enough to meet our needs, and so we try to overstep and overreach so that we can, just for using the example of food and shelter and things like that. And then, fear that we're not going to be seen as high enough status in others' eyes, and we're going to be treated poorly, yada yada. Yada yada yada. But so if we hit the mark, meaning, like it was saying, live with gratitude, humility, honesty, purity, unselfishness, and love. That's really the mark. Sin is anything that doesn't hit that doesn't hit on those concepts, I guess, those aims. So there you have it. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may have more faith and obedience. I pray that I may live a more abundant life as a result of these things. Yes. And again, obedience, like sin, is a word that's like, and really, it's simplified in the phrase that I've heard in AA, doing the next right thing. So many people are like, I don't know what God's will is. Well, for me, for sure, I've circumstances and extensive experimenting has kind of convinced me that it's God's will that I abstain from alcohol. And along with that I'm not supposed to do it alone, right? So I'm supposed to help others who are also abstaining from alcohol, and whatever that takes, just doing the next right thing, being of service, being willing to share my dark past, as it says in the Family Afterward, that because I am convinced and I cling to the thought that in God's hands the dark past is the greatest possession I have. And so in God's hands, if I'm obedient and share my dark past when led to do so, I'm living in God's will. And to not do that, to avoid meetings because I think that I'm better than them, is really living in quote-unquote sin. I'm missing the mark. I'm not living in the most fruitful way I could possibly live. So, man, it's a living, loving, learning, growing program for sure, y'all. Look up, aim up, and rise up. Love ya.